They're rockin' the Casbah. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're taking a look at the history of The Clash. Punk rock band The Clash formed in London, England in 1976. After leaving their previous musical projects, guitarist Mick Jones, bassist Paul Simonon, and drummer Terry Chimes joined vocalist Joe Strummer and guitarist Keith Levine to form the band. As punk's popularity grew, The Clash spent most of 1976 rehearsing and playing a few shows. Early the next year, they landed a contract with CBS Records. When The Clash released their eponymous debut later in 1977, Levine and Chimes were no longer in the lineup. On the strength of the single White Riot, the LP charted within the UK's top 20 and introduced the band's angry, dirty punk sound and socio-politically charged lyrics. An import of that self-titled record also achieved massive sales in the US, but was only released in an altered version as the band's second American album 2 years later. By this point, The Clash was headlining in the UK, even though several members had had run-ins with the law. The group then added Topper Headon on drums, and he became their most long-standing drummer. With him, they recorded new material, including the punk classic Complete Control. Next, the band unveiled Give 'Em Enough Rope. Though it still contained punk vibes and covered contemporary subjects, the LP featured a more mainstream rock sound. At home, the album spawned a top 20 track and reached a number 2 chart position, but it barely cracked Billboard in the US. After spreading their musical message on tour, The Clash finally earned more chart recognition in the United States.
London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls.
London Calling struck a chord with Americans thanks to its mix of punk rock, reggae, rockabilly, and jazz. The double LP received rave reviews and reached the Billboard 200's top 30, and today it is considered one of the best albums in history. After the 1980 standalone single Bank Robber, The Clash followed their musical ambitions by unveiling the triple album Sandinista.
Get your car out of that gear. Don't you ever stop long enough to stop. Get your car out of that gear.
They expanded their brand of punk even further by adding folk, R&B, and rap to their left-leaning lyrics. Despite mixed reviews, the effort still managed a top 20 showing in the UK and reached the top 30 in the US. Following the dub and hip-hop influenced single This Is Radio Clash, the band experimented with dance punk and new wave on 1982's combat rock. That gamble paid off when the album reached number 7 on the American charts, making it their highest charting album in the US. The effort also gave them their first and only top 10 American hit, Rock the Casbah. Meanwhile, the LP went to number 2 in the UK, while Should I Stay or Should I Go topped the charts there when it was re-released in the 1990s.
Should I stay or should I go now?
Unfortunately, the early 80s were filled with tension. This eventually resulted in the dismissals of Headon and Jones. Along with Strummer and Simonon, The Clash continued with drummer Pete Howard and guitarists Nick Sheppard and Vince White. The new lineup played some shows together before dropping 1985's critically and commercially disappointing Cut the Crap. Its only single, This Is England, was later seen in a more positive light by both fans and critics.
This is England. This life will shed you steel.
But ultimately, tension got the better of them, and the Clash broke up in 1986. While members did go their separate ways, they still occasionally worked together. And this caused rumors of a reunion to surface in the 90s. A live album appeared before Decade's End, followed by a documentary and some gigs featuring various members early in the new century. Sadly, Strummer died in 2002 of a heart defect, shortly before the Clash's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the next year. Regardless, the Clash's music lived on in numerous compilations and box sets that have since been released. We remember them for their musical passion, their willingness to experiment with genres and styles, and their fearlessness in speaking their minds on socially and politically relevant topics.
Breaking rotten, the hot sun. I fought below one. Yeah, I fought below one.
When it comes to punk rock, The Clash is the only band that matters.
Below one. I fought below.